undercover cop from 1997, befriending and then betraying some of the UK's most violent drug dealers. But unlike former officers who are being investigated by the Mitting inquiry, Neil 3 to 2007, Woods was never required to initiate sexual relationships with his targets. Does he think that the officers under investigation broke the law?
I do believe sexual offences have been committed. I do believe that they broke the law. I find it disgusting, the way that they manipulated these poor women. After I'd had a few years of success investigating drugs crime, there was an attempt to recruit me into being one of these spy cops. I was approached by someone on behalf of the National Public Order Intelligence Unit, one of the two units which is being investigated in the Mitting inquiry. And a detective sergeant I knew and was friendly with, he approached me and he says, "Look, Woodsy, you understand all this hippie stuff. We really need you to do this job." I said, well hang on, who's the bad guy? Who am I after? Who am I trying to catch here? And they said, well, we're just after intelligence to find out the activities of animal rights protesters. So my attitude at that point was, you want me to go from catching gangsters to chasing people who release beagles from laboratories, do you? And I was just baffled at the idea that so much effort would go into it. So I said no.
Can you get into the mindset of a fellow officer who would strike up a sexual relationship with somebody they're investigating, the deception that's involved, the stories that have to be told?
I remember I did an undercover operation, a drugs operation, where I was sometimes buying weights of amphetamine, base amphetamine, from the girlfriend of the main dealer. And she was clearly very attracted to me. And the person running the operation said, well, get in there, lad. Get in there. You'll get much more information if you can get really close to her, you know what I mean? And I was absolutely appalled at the suggestion that I lie to this woman and form some kind of close relationship with her, especially as I've been reporting to them that she was also a domestic violence victim. But, you know, there were several cops around me who really saw no problem with that suggestion.
As a matter of law, undercover police officers commit criminal offences as part of the work they do. They may have defences, and they're told that they won't be prosecuted. But it's a shadowy area. Last week, the House of Lords gave a second reading to a bill that will legalise undercover investigations. It'll allow what's called a covert human intelligence source, a CHIS for short, to take part in criminality if authorised to do so. As a former undercover cop himself, what does Neil Woods think of the bill?
I think it's a drastic mistake, and I'm surprised at the lack of protest about this bill. I don't think people are really grasping just how fundamentally this changes our legal system. To give operatives the protection so that they are allowed in advance to commit crimes, we're not just talking about allowing undercover cops to commit crimes, we're also allowing CHISers to break the law, a covert human information source, a police informant, a snout. Now, people need to realise that CHISers are not only often very unreliable, they're generally recruited because they're already criminals, and to write into this system where CHISers or undercover cops have a blanket immunity to prosecution is a dire thing to do. It changes the whole game.
But isn't it simply putting onto a proper basis what's going on at the moment? I mean, presumably police officers are authorising their sources to commit offences, and anybody working undercover has to commit some sort of offence from time to time in order to prove they're not a police officer.
Look at it this way. You don't underestimate how ruthless I was as an undercover cop. Ruthlessness and undercover work go hand in hand. I've left one person I manipulated suicidal, but at the time I saw it as the ends justifying the means. You don't want to be giving free rein on statute to people who are as ruthless as I was. And you certainly don't want to be doing it for people who are essentially recruited from the pool of criminals in which we work with.
But won't there be supervision at high level, senior people who will check how authorisations are given, and there will be rules as to what can be authorised and what can't be authorised?
What this bill effectively does is remove those safeguards. It won't be down to the decision of a judge whether something was in the public interest. It will be authorised prior to that point. You know, as an undercover cop, it was the rule of law that governed my actions, and I was always answerable to a judge for decisions I took. This bill is dangerous because it removes that approach. But, you know, breaking the law can be justified. I can think of circumstances where it would be justified if I assaulted somebody. I can think of instances where it would be justified if I committed criminal damage to maintain my cover.
Neil Woods, the Metropolitan Police, told the Meeting Inquiry this month that undercover policing remains a vital way of combating crime and protecting the public, but said the Met it must be conducted within clear legal and ethical boundaries. Sexual relationships with the subjects of operations were wrong, and the mistakes of the past would not be repeated.